Hi, my name is Yasmine Kotturi, and I will be discussing our paper, Deconstructing the Veneer of Simplicity, Co-Designing Introductory Generative AI Workshops with Local Entrepreneurs. And this is work done collaboratively with Angel Anderson, Glenn Ford, Mike Skirpan, and Jeff Bigham. To motivate this work, we were particularly interested in how generative AI platforms are permeating many aspects of work and entrepreneurship due to their benefits of outsourcing tasks, increasing efficiency, and cutting costs. Yet, despite seemingly simple chat-based interface designs, generative AI technologies like ChatGPT and DALL-E are primarily used by those who have backgrounds in tech or who are college educated. Noting these disparities in use, we built on scholarship in human-computer interaction that has focused on supporting local entrepreneurs from lean economies, where citizens must rely on their resourcefulness due to fewer resources, and entrepreneurs primarily target their local economy to create additional sources of income. In this setting, keeping pace with technological advancements while running a small business is challenging due to a lack of support for maintenance and repair. And much of this prior work has shown how social support is essential when learning new skills, especially new technical skills, in part due to the relationship building among entrepreneurs and providers, which occurs more readily in person and can facilitate the necessary trust when entrepreneurs' livelihoods are implicated in these discussions. However, it is unclear how social support should be structured to onboard local entrepreneurs to generative AI technologies, where such support must respond to fast-paced development and unpredictability. Therefore, we ask three research questions in this paper. First, what is the role of social support when onboarding local entrepreneurs to pre-train generative AI platforms and features? And taking a community-based approach, what are the community-driven outcomes of an interactive workshop series intended to onboard local entrepreneurs to these technologies? And finally, after introduction, how do local entrepreneurs use and prefer not to use generative AI technologies for their business? And to give you a sense of where we are going next, key takeaways from this work include how communal exposure helps to overcome some of the techno anxieties associated with these technologies. In addition, contrary to the seemingly natural interface and interaction paradigms, disparities in use may be explained by a long list of operational skills required for successful application of generative AI, such as image editing and graphic design, password management, file type conversion, text editing, and more. And finally, community-driven workshops highlighted the importance of supporting non-use and refusal of use and surfaced concerns around intellectual property infringement, inauthenticity, dependency on platforms, and machine bias. To take a step back and provide a bit more detail for our methodology, we took up a community-based approach and built on top of a 4-year community academic partnership with a local entrepreneurial hub called Community Forge, located in Wilkinsburg, which is about 4 miles from Carnegie Mellon. Community Forge is a former elementary school repurposed into an office space that provides common unity, opportunity, equality to the East End residents of Pittsburgh. The primary goal of Community Forge is to empower and to create self-sufficiency within the community, as more than 1/3 of the community lives at or below the poverty line. So together we designed a 4-part workshop series, which ran from May to August of 2023, and we conducted 15 follow-up interviews with workshop participants who opted in to participate in research activities. And entrepreneurs who participated in the workshops had a range of product and services, such as entrepreneurs who had gift basket company, a notary, podcast producer, apparel, and life coaching, and more. And entrepreneurs in this workshop series had limited to no experience using generative AI technologies. Working together with our community partners, we established 3 community-driven goals of the workshops. The first was to meet entrepreneurs where they are in terms of their comfort with technology and trust with technology or lack thereof. Second, the workshop series needed to be actionable and tangible. Entrepreneurs needed to be able to do hands-on work that was directly tailored to their business. And finally, the workshop series needed to be embedded in a network of trust. And in this way, the workshop series needed to be hosted at Community Forge and not Carnegie Mellon, and draw on these existing technical services, as we've already discussed, as they've provided a longstanding reputation for trustworthy technical support. To provide an overview of the workshop series, all workshops were themed around marketing, as this was one of the current needs among entrepreneurs at Community Forge, such as search engine optimization, social media, marketing, copy and email campaigns, images and editing, and branding. And the number of attendees ranged from 9 entrepreneurs, 7, 10, and then we also recruited providers to maintain a low ratio such that entrepreneurs could receive direct support to facilitate the personalization of the workshops. Workshops covered a range of generative AI technologies from ChatGPT to DALL-E, Midjourney, Pixlr, and so on. And because engaging with technologies was highly optional, we provided alternative activities such as board games, recording business pitches, headshots, and more. All of the workshops covered the latest prompt engineering techniques, and please do see our supplemental materials for detailed workshop overview and learning objectives. We embedded workshops in the monthly Entrepreneur Mixer already hosted by Community Forge every Wednesday each month. In our workshops, each entrepreneur here in purple was partnered with a tech provider in orange. So this is a photo from our workshop focused on image generation platforms like DALL-E and Midjourney to boost business brand. And this is a photo of entrepreneurs and providers all gathered around a conference table. Everyone has their own laptop and they're working collaboratively together in small groups. To provide a quick highlight from our findings, we see that entrepreneurs in the workshop discuss the importance of overcoming overwhelm together. So for instance, E8, entrepreneur 8, who was a notary and podcast producer, said, "It was a safe space that everyone is unfamiliar with, and they just want to get familiar with AI tools. While it's overwhelming, it doesn't linger, because then you can look around the room and see people who are just like you in the same space, and there's no stupid questions." To center community expertise, an expert demo featured during this workshop explained how he used generative AI for his fashion business, starting with ChatGPT to generate complimentary hex codes, DALL-E to generate images of the Pittsburgh skyline, and then Procreate and Photoshop to edit images and create clothing mock-ups. Interestingly, when we asked what the key takeaway for successful use was, the number one thing that entrepreneurs should walk away from his demo thinking is that they need to get photos out of DALL-E and into Photoshop, Illustrator, or Procreate. And what's interesting about this in particular is that suggesting that in order to successfully use a platform like DALL-E, you have to be very mindful and consider the other kinds of image editing software that you will need in order to derive actual value from generated images. And in fact, many tech providers and community expertise reflected on the additional tools and operational or lower level technical skills required for successful use, such as these image and graphic design skills that the previous entrepreneur just mentioned, password management, file type conversion, text editing, typing skills, browser literacy, and more. In conclusion, we argue that benefiting from generative AI requires a host of supporting technologies and a long list of skills beyond solely prompt engineering. And it's important to show the amount of actual effort involved for successful application, and in other words, deconstruct this veneer of simplicity for how tools are often marketed to entrepreneurs in particular. And in addition, we found that communal exposure facilitated entrepreneurial agency to choose how or how not to use generative AI for their small businesses. For more details of our findings, for concerns that entrepreneurs had towards using generative AI, their initial uses after introduction, and more, please do read our paper. Thank you.